Hey guys, it's just a few minutes before I have to go into work, and a thought occurred to me that I thought I would share. So basically, when I was younger, sometimes I would really confuse people because I would use, quote unquote, big words, and people wouldn't know what I was talking about, especially other children, right? Now, in my mind, we're talking about me being a small child, okay? So, in my mind, I thought that all the adults kind of knew all the words in the English language and that all of us kids were just learning them. And then if we learned a word, all the adults already knew all these words. So, it really would confuse me when I would use a quote unquote big word and an adult wouldn't know what that word meant. So, anyway, so, like let's say there was a scientific classification word or something along those lines, or just something I had learned when reading or something. So I would just naturally incorporate these quote unquote big words into my sentences, And I would also use words in ways that I guess the people around me weren't necessarily familiar with. For example, I might say, well, I really relished that experience or something. And all the people around me, the only context they had for relish was, pickle relish, like sweet pickle relish. And so they were like, you put relish on it? I mean, they didn't understand what I was talking about. And this would happen over and over and over again. And really, really frustrating to have to deal with that over and over again. And I know that I'm using the words correctly. I know what they mean. I'm putting them in the correct context. And other people around me are acting like I'm speaking a foreign language. I'm only speaking English, using the words correctly in the correct order, in the correct context, pronouncing them correctly. And people around me would be like, what are you talking about? What's that? It would drive me crazy, guys. And I've kind of learned as I've gotten into adulthood that there's just, levels of diction. And if you don't know what that is, just look it up. It's spelled Diction. There's levels of diction that you have to use with different people. You might use simpler words if you're talking to a younger child. You might use simpler words if you're talking with the general public. If you know somebody has a similar interest with you, then you would use words that you both know together from that interest. And in general, people don't understand these higher level words or, things that are not really common knowledge. So I didn't know that when I was little. And I just thought, I just learned a new word. I'm going to start using it. And I would use it appropriately. I would use it in the right context. I would, pronounce it correctly. And I would use it by the right definition. And I was just so frustrated because people around me did not understand me. And it is frustrating because I felt like, look, we're supposed to speak English. Why do the other people who supposedly speak English not understand these words? It was really, really frustrating. And so I did find a term for this. It's called hyperlexia. And apparently that means that you're basically above your maturity level in the kind of words you use and the kind of language you use, that you would use like quote unquote big words and all this stuff at a young age, and that's how I was. So, and they treat it like it's some kind of disease process or something, the way they talk about it in some of these, articles and things like, hyperlexia. I'm like, it's not hyperlexia, it's just using the English language. But I suppose in some ways it is disabling because if you're trying to say, that, I saw a lot of opisthokonts today, and you're talking about fungi and animals, and people don't know what opisthokonts are, they'll be like, what did you see? What did you see? I don't know what that means. No. So, you know what I mean? Like, so, I'm using an extreme example, okay? Because most people don't know what that means. I didn't even know what that meant until recently. But, so what I'm trying to say is this is the kind of experience I would have. Like, I would be like, but this is what this word means. It means, fungi and animals. So I figured, well, why not just say, instead of saying, oh, I saw a lot of fungi and a lot of animals, why don't I just use one word and it's more efficient and it means the same thing? See, like, in my mind, I would just go, I would try to streamline things and be like, yeah, let's use this word for this context. And it's correct and appropriate and it means this. And other people around you are just like, I don't know what that means. So, yeah. And there are words that I don't know what they mean, okay? There are words that I have to learn about. But the bad thing is, once I learn about them, I usually can't even use them. Unless I'm specifically writing things down, to someone who would understand what the word meant. So this is one of the things I had to learn as I was getting older. And, even now I'm learning words that are difficult to use around most people. All right. Bye-bye.